most important question is, what is architecture, of course? And one of the essential things is that you have to think again about what is the relation between your being as a person and your building. So what is the relation between your body and the building? But that depends on how you see your body. If you see your body as a machine, that gives a different building than if you see your body as an animalistic entrance to experience, which is complete other different. So what we do in Socratic design, I don't know if you have been in earlier sessions in this Socratic design, not yet. So I have to explain a little bit what it is, what Socratic design means, because there are Socratic design based on the acknowledgement of a few fatal fallacies that we have in our culture. And these fallacies are so strong that you probably have them in you without knowing. You probably think they're normal.
Do you mean by culture our place on earth? Or like Western culture, do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And there are some very strong fallacies. I'm going to give some examples, but we're going to do it step by step from what is in your mind and what is not in your mind. But anyway, there are so many. I want to talk about these fallacies, but they are so strong. But we built on these fallacies a very successful industrial world. So the very successful industrial world is based on fallacies, which, of course, now in some respects we see the contradictions coming out, some very severe contradictions, but still people go on thinking in the industrial way, solving the problems of the industrial thinking. What we have to do is, okay, where are these real fallacies, and can we then eliminate them out of my consciousness and our consciousness, collective consciousness? But the point here is that architecture is a very important aspect of this industrial fallacy, because if I build on fallacies just a coaching meeting, that's okay because I will be gone. Eh? But if I build on fallacies, that will stay for a few hundred years. Well, nowadays a few, not so many, but most of the buildings in Rotterdam, we can talk about the future of architecture, but they will stay for 200-300 years. Even if we reject the fundamentals of this architecture. So that's, if we talk about architecture, we cannot go on like this video, because that's a very nice video. evaluate that?
Utopia.
Utopia?
Sustainability.
Sustainability.
I think it's just another part of that industrial.
Yeah,
mindset.
why?
Yeah.
Why? Because it's still coming out of the idea that we've got to somehow
Yeah.
do something.
Exactly. So it's a continuation of a maybe industrial era and go on, but then with new design. But it's like technology-driven technology. And technology-driven technology is very strong now. Because that's so beautiful and we don't understand it. But so that's what we. But what if we have built all this world around us, and if you walk through any city in the world, Western world, you often get the idea: why is this not a mistake? Why do you put people into boxes, and then put on the box house, and then they go to another box, and you put on the box work? And then they go to another box, identical materials, and you put on a discotheque. So maybe you go from box to box to box, but different names.
Yeah.
Huh? And what is the box made of? It's all replaceable because that's cheap. It doesn't touch on your body, and it has no identity. But we keep on building this because we are trapped in the industrial fallacy. And I have to give you some clues. What is the industrial fallacy? Some people know this already. First is that you think that you can think, but normally you are not thinking. So while you are raised as a rational being, everybody said we go to education and you learn rational thinking and we train your rational mind. So you thought, I have to be rational. You even think that you are in your brain. If I ask you where are you, most people will say I am what I think. But the point is that you mostly don't think. You are in your mind addicted to the same thoughts. So you repeat the thoughts, which are neurological circles, who fire and then they wire. And these neurological circles are connected to dopamine. So it gives you a lot of satisfaction to repeat always the same thoughts. Remember that from now on. And when you think, well, am I thinking? But because these thoughts can destiny your whole life. You can have a thought that you're very powerful, and then you act like it, but it's an addictive thought. You can have a negative thought that you are very stupid, so you hide all difficult tasks because you think you're stupid. And sometimes even these thoughts are hidden in your unconsciousness. So that's why we have a lot of problems in transforming people, because they're addicted to having the same dopamine structure. And we are even more dopamine oriented than before, because we have our society created around this dopamine circuit, with sugar, with pornography, with pantalla screen addictions. All sort of addictions are basically the essence of our economy. The economy is not based on what is the well-being of you, how to develop. Now it's based on how can I sell as much as possible addictive things. This is possible thanks to our addictive dopamine reptile brain, lizard brain. So you can think, but then you should stop the dopamine. That's a very easy way if you realize it. Then every time you get an addictive thought, you can think to yourself, do I want to think this? And at that moment it can disappear directly. So you are thinking, all people from Amsterdam are shit, and you get a nice feeling. You get a nice feeling as a Rotterdam. Or you can think, all Americans are, what do they say? All sorts of names, and you get a nice feeling. That's addictive. But it's also addictive to have very complex thoughts, like a skyscraper should be scraping the sky. We should build on top of one another, or we should have doors to separate one another, or you have a living room and you have this and you have that. All addictive thoughts. And in Japanese have different addictive thoughts than we have. So they say it must be complete empty, so empty that you get completely lost. And the British have another addictive thought, it must be as full that you cannot walk anymore in the house. So we are full of this, but there are some addictive thoughts who are, you can say, systematically. So if I ask you, do you have a body or do you are a body? What would you say normally? Would you say normally I am a body or I have? You say?
have a body.
I have.
I have. I have.
I am.
I have.
I have.
I occupy one.
Yes. I have. So we see here a very important assumption that is addictive in our culture. Only one person is free from that, because the I have the body is 300 years ago started with René Descartes, with the cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Here is the I am, in the thinking, not in the skull, but in it. And the body is just the transport for that. You see what I mean? If you have this thinking, and then we connect to another one, are people egoist or are people social? What would you say? Normally?
Bit of both.
Both? What do we think? Are people egoist, or how do we build our society? Social?
Ego.
Ego.
I think kind of social, they pretend to be social, but it's
it's
really ego.
Ego. I think it's a very nuanced judgment, and we can do this.
Every house, every bike, every car has a lock, so it's
Quite ego. You know who invented this in your head? This ego thinking. This is coming from Thomas Hobbes. I don't know if you heard of it, but if you never heard of him, be aware he's in your head. So it's quite stupid, somebody raining your head and you don't know who. But he made a narrative, very strong narrative. You can download it on the internet free. It's very, very interesting. He invented it called Leviathan, Thomas Hobbes. And then you see our whole society built on, if you are here and he is sitting there, you want to steal his watch. And he thinks he wants to steal my watch. So before he is stealing his watch, he will kill him. But he will, has a brain also. He is thinking that I will steal his watch, so I think he will kill me for that, me thinking that, so I will kill him first. I do that pretty fast, but this is what Thomas Hobbes discovered. He thinks he discovered it. He thought he discovered it. So man is a man, homo homini lupus. The man is a man, a wolf. This egoist is so deep rooted in our addiction that if you ask young people who are working together the whole day at school, are people egoist? Then everybody says people are egoist. So it's an indoctrination that makes us also act like egoists. So we act like egoists and we act like our body is a machine. That's quite horrible. But the coming next to this is we need property. Although, do you think that we need property? In our society, do people think they need property?
Yes.
But you think not.
Yeah, I think we don't need it, but it's very very hard to keep on thinking like that, because I think the society is pressing me and pushing me to think in a certain way.
Exactly. It's very hard, exactly what you say, because you need property is imprinted in almost every cubic centimeter around you.
I think the book of my life is written before I even had an opportunity to live it, because you need to do that, you need to live that, you need to think like that.
Yeah. But this is the unconscious, you can say, impregnation of assumptions that is penetrating our souls. So now we have already 3 things which are, and you can think about it and we can discuss it, of course, but it's, believe me, anyway, you can agree with Thomas Hobbes, but that we have an ego, that our ratio is our essence, and that we want property is the narrative from Thomas Hobbes. From this narrative, we built this ego-oriented society, and from a philosopher, Foucault, would stress that this model is the best model to control us. If I say to you, you all will kill one another, you need me as a power. you need the king, you need the police. So the legitimization of all this system, where you get fragmented into parts, is based on a narrative that you believe because it's completely sent out to us. So that's in our stuff. And to make things worse, when we have architects, they have this also in themselves, and they don't know that they don't have Thomas Hobbes in themselves. So you can see buildings in the 50s in England and in Northern Europe, in the Netherlands, and these buildings were completely oriented by controlling people, that the ambulance could be fast there, that they could see that they have the morals, that they will behave well, and so on and so on. Only the workout of this narrative. But because of it is in bricks and stones, we cannot get rid of this narrative, like you say. It's very hard to get rid of the narrative. So here we are. So what do? Then they go new technology, and they even make more. Then they say we make bricks and stones of electrical stuff. So it's going on. So how can we get rid of this architecture? If we want, you can also go into the future, but believe me, if you go with them, they still have this assumption in you. So you still believe we need something, the other will kill me, I need police, and so on. How can we get rid of this? Well, the essence of Socratic design, it starts from your values. Reflect on your values. So suppose that you are naked now in nature, and it's asked by God, because it's Socratic design what we do, so we say God didn't design the world, but humans did it, so we can design it again, but not on false ideas, but on good ideas. You see what I mean? So we can only make the future of architecture if we think this and go from scratch. So to do now a small exercise, I want you all to close your eyes and think about your values. If there were no bricks, buildings, cities and whatever, and God asks you, Socrates asks you, what is your value? What are your values? I give you 3 minutes to imagine it, and it's good to close your eyes, because otherwise you keep on looking on the bricks. Okay, wake up slowly, and then we're gonna try. Everybody says one value, and we go around the circles. Yeah.
Something communal.
Yeah, I was going to say cooperation. Kind of related.
Mm-hmm. What did you saw?
I saw like a circular space that slowly had, as you went in, like a bigger community space or something.
Connection.
Oh man, that was mine.
Yeah, for me it was like freedom, that humans, animals, everybody should be free.
Yeah, because you can say there's a lot of imprisonment.
And even we are the prisoners of this society.
Ourselves.
Yeah, or ourselves.
That's a very important thing. We are the prisoners of ourselves. That's why the philosopher Byung-Wong Chang writes books about we are in a burnout society.
We are in the burnout society.
Because burnout means you kill yourself.
Yeah.
Support?
Yeah.
You and another? Yeah, whatever you say. Yeah.
Community.
Community, yeah. If you look at this, it's a very interesting result of the collective thinking, because this is very coherent image, and it's a complete new vision of being, because we say, let's suppose that we agree on everything. We say we stop the individual thinking, because that's a fallacy, because we are not different. So we put a lot of accents on being different, like being individuals. And then if you look at it, basically everybody buys the same thing, wants the same thing, and do the same thing. All these cells that do all the same thing. So let's stop with this nonsense of being So non-individuality is a big revolution. Let's give up that nonsense. That's a very interesting one, because then we can trust this connection, collective. We can enjoy being as a common body. Now we cannot, because if we go together, we say, well, I have to go with her and she doesn't with me and I have that preference. But that's all because we are locked in this individuality thing. But if you get rid of this, and sometimes you see it when people are in crisis, and they're locked up in a metro, an accident or hostage, there is no individual, and they love it. Some people say, oh, I would love to have again such a disaster. Or people say, the war was the best experience in my life, because we are always mates and we were just one. Yeah? So let's suppose that this is, yeah?
I'm not prepared to give up my individuality.
No, I don't think you don't. No, wait a minute. You don't have to give it up. But you know, you've got to give first. You've got to with us in this voyage, and later you can go on.
Okay, yeah. Because the thing that you mentioned also with the language and the war is that the individuals maybe sometimes lack connection.
Yes.
But we can be connected individuals.
Of course, but this is what we already tried for 30 years. So we tried for 30 years. No, but society, we talk about the big trends in society. Yeah? We try to connect people very strongly, and the effect is that they are more isolated than ever. People have more individual houses, more individual time, but the people will say there's a new sickness, with this loneliness. So there is less connection than ever. But let's not discuss about that, because that can be, you can have a completely different point of view, of course. Depends also where you live. I live in Spain, with a completely different world than Netherlands, because in Spain nobody likes this individuality so much. They're all the same, but they do think you all should be proud. So everybody's proud, but in the same way. That's why they can dance flamenco. Nobody will say, I don't want to do flamenco, I want to do cha-cha-cha. No, we all do flamenco. And that's why they can develop it. In Holland, you cannot say, because in Holland everybody wants to do it differently. That's my identity. And you say this, then I will say, oh, well, I turn it 30 degrees around. I teach a lot of art academies, and the art academies suffer a strong fallacy, because they all think they have to be different than the other students. So that paralyzes them. While I did some master courses in Latin America with some strong women who had all the criminal stuff up behind. They were just the same, all these girls, but they were far more strong in creating, because they didn't focus on being this. So this is an interesting change which already exists in cultures. Before 1600.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
So how, so you're saying that those art colleges, want to be different, but then you're saying they should all do the same thing, or
that's a good question.
How do you
do that? How do you do that? Here I come in with David Bohm, which I all want you to read, and then you can become happy, although you think you were happy, but you had only a lot of pleasures. But to become real happy, you need an awareness, like I said, get rid of addictive thoughts, and get aware, how is human beings, who are they, how can they live? And you know what's the secret of human beings, how can they live? And you can find your arguments in history or in your own experience, but people can only live as collective bodies, because that's how our unconscious works. So our unconscious, you were, 50 minutes ago, everybody was in the same exercise. That provoked a laser effect, said David Bohm. All the conscious, unconscious, and conscious mind were directed at the same. And due to that effect, we create a common attention. And the secret of human beings, like animals, is collective attention. That is what David Bohm discovered. And what I do in my company is, I have big companies and they are in problem, and what do? I put them in collective attention and everything is solved. Why? Because in collective attention we can create good ideas, real thinking. So that's the answer to your question. Why are classical cultures sometimes so strong? Because they use always collective attention. Before this individualism of the 16th century, of the cogito ergo sum, of John Locke, etc., we had a lot of dialogoi in our culture. And the Greek word dialogoi means dia through logoi, and it means sit together, look at the same thing, and then something will happen. So the secret, this is very funny that it comes out of, this is very strong, you can say, collective attention. And in the collective attention, you can have completely contrast. It can be today this and tomorrow that. But this is how we really are. And why is it? Because you did not invent yourself. You didn't, at present now you are you. Yeah, now you're Humberto. Everything in you is rooted in culture of thousands of years. If I talk with you, and I do Socratic interviews with people sometimes from 100 hours during a year, if I talk with you deeply, then the whole culture of your country, of your neighborhood or whatever comes on the table. So you're not an individual, you're always rooted into collective events, collective rituals, wisdom, and so on. So that's beautiful. So why then say I'm an ego and I'm against you? That has no use. So this non-individuality principle is a beautiful way of going to this. And then say, okay, let's today, what I'm going to do today? At 6 we have a collective attention at the 6th floor. I go there, and then after 1 hour you had a good day. Why? Because you experienced being a human being. And why is that? Because, like I said, humans are rooted in history, in culture. Everything is in you, and that's why you can connect to all these people here, because we are completely connected in our culture. And that's mostly tacit ground, they call it in English. We have tacit ground. So don't, if you want to discuss, it's funny, it's with beer and win, debate and so on, but it has no you. It's funny to do. But the tacit ground is like, do what you are created to do, is creating collective attention. So this is a complete different way, and he gave already a sort of clue. The architecture is then completely different, because we have cells where we can be alone, enjoy my own tacit ground, and then go into collective. So that could be the contrast. But what we did not talk about, I started with the body. If you think about your body, so that would be the next exercise, then we can come to a complete next step to the design question. But this is all, the tree is a very strong one, because the tree is, during all our history of culture, the symbol of truth. Because a tree we have olive trees in Spain of 1,000 years. If you stand in front of it, you say, wow, they have seen everything. And they are still standing there. But the tree, what you see is not what it is about, because the tree is going very deep, and we didn't know, we know now, that trees communicate with you, that trees can communicate with other trees. How do we know this? Thanks to physics. I'm also a physicist, but physics has made very fine tuning possible, and trees are exchanging their goods. I have too much nickel, you get from me magnesium. I feel good, okay, I feel also good. So if you are looking for comfort, you can go to a tree, and if you are open for it, you will have a free consultancy. But you have to be open for it, but you're not. Why not? Because you think you are a brain with a machine. So you can never enjoy this. So you make yourself poor, and then you go to a psychiatrist who talks to your brain, and it costs you $200 or $300 an hour, and you can go free to the truth. But you have to be open for this. So there's a takeaway. You can go to a tree, and I've done it with, well, almost 2,000 people. They have done this. You can go to a tree, and it's better in a place where it's not so noisy.
Actually, I'm from Finland, and sometimes even like the doctors recommend if you have a stress or anything, there's a lot of woods. Like go walk into the woods. It reduces stress. It just listen to the sounds of like the woods.
They have this is so important. It is so important. They have discovered the book called Fix Nature Fix, and they discovered that your body wants to see 1,000 different levels of green. Why is that? Why does your body want to see 1,000 levels of green? Do you have a clue?
Like,
why?
Yeah, I think it's natural. Like we come from like Africa, and that's where like the most natural
simple.
For us is like
That's
to see
simple.
the water and the green. That's like a way to survive.
So there are like sensors in your nervous system who are waiting. When the fuck is she going to this 1,000 different green? And then they only go to this gray, concrete, and then somebody have a plastic tree. Well, the whole body gets crazy. And that's why I live in a village where there is 1,000 greens, and sometimes I can do a lot of job and read philosophy and so on. But I can also just sit in the garden and look at all this green, and then my day is okay. I don't have a feeling of what was a meaningless day. So I give you takeaways. If you want to get rid of this Thomas Hobbes in your mind, Descartes in your mind, and this individuality ghost, and it gives you a lot of rest and energy, and try collective intent. You can even save your marriage with this. Well, you have to save marriage because most of the marriages are at a certain moment they say, I don't want you anymore. You can save this all by leaving this old model and go with this collective attention. And there are 2 exercises very easy. Most we do in Spain, you have to train, but there's 2 very easy exercises. First is go to a tree, take an hour, so put your alarm and put your alarm away, so you don't have to watch the clock. Watch the tree and try not to think. So kill your cogito. And how can you do that? How can you do this? You can become a sort of I. So first you will notice that it's impossible for you to look at the tree, because you get an idea. Oh, this looks like my grandmother. This is that sort of tree. That are all concepts. Can you look at it without a concept? How do you do it? Become an I. And do that for 1 hour. And then observe what is happening. And you will see the first hour you say, what? I am such a stupid creature, I cannot watch the tree because I have continuously thoughts. That's good. Then you know already something about yourself. Then you go the second time and your body will say, we know what you're going to do, we're going to help you better. And then at a certain moment you will have this experience, and you will, for the first time maybe, for the most time, I think people is this the word to use, for the first time you will experience what it means to be. Because we know in philosophy that people are never busy with just being. People are busy with calculating, projecting, futuring, etc., etc. But do you dare to just be? That's this exercise about. So if you have the secret of being, you don't need to become. But we only learn becoming. Why? Well, I gave you the 4 different assumptions that are addictive in our culture. These 4 assumptions made us so empty. It robbed us from our body. And so it forced us to become always. Because it displaced us. We are basically displaced person who think they are egos. It's even worse than you can imagine. But there is a way to act this tree, and the second is the art of listening. So you can practice the art of listening. It's quite interesting. You will ask somebody a question, your friend or your partner, and say, what do you think is a good house? The person will start talking, not too long, and then you say, okay. And then you repeat everything the person said, without saying cool or wow or I like that too. Just completely neutral. You will notice that you cannot do that. That you get an inclination to add something, and then kick yourself on the head, no. repeat. And then you ask the person, did you say this? And the person will say no. You forgot the half. Okay, can you say again what you want to say? The person will say it again. You will repeat completely and check, did you say this? If the person says yes, then you can say, can you elaborate on this? So the person will give a second argument about this. You will again repeat this, check if it's correct, and then ask again, can you elaborate on this? And you can go on for hours. And it's a sort of journey in collective attention, because you are listening really, so you get new thoughts in your mind. But the other person is listening to himself and saying, wow, is that what I'm saying? So it's a very interesting first exercise. And then we do Socratic dialogues in groups, but that's what you have to learn. And we mostly train that or in Spain or in England or whatever. So I want to have you close your eyes for the last 5 minutes and ask yourself, imagine yourself what your body wants as a surrounding. What your body wants as a surrounding. If you close your eyes, what would you want as a surrounding? 3 minutes. Okay. You can say some words and then we make something about it.
Nature and community.
Nature community. Maybe I can use that role. Yeah, next.
Naked.
Nature?
Naked.
Naked. So what did you saw or feel? You were naked and there was surrounding?
Yeah, naked. Just naked in nature.
Naked in nature. That's why we go to the nudist beach in Spain. Yeah?
Oh, me? Yeah, trees.
Trees. You felt trees. We have a man in our around our village who lived in Barcelona, and he got sick of all these buildings, and he decided to live in trees. And he is completely out to support this. He knows what to eat, and he never comes out it anymore. And he can build houses every day from the leaves, different ones. Yeah.
Oh.
And there has been a photo reportage from a Dutch photograph artist made about this man.
For me, it's like water, maybe like lakes, not ocean, but maybe like lakes. Rivers.
Yes.
For me, it's green areas.
Green.
Yeah, like grass and.
Yeah, all sort of green. Yeah, exactly. You.
Well, I was thinking because the first question was if we own or have a body, and then you asked what the body. So I was wondering, let's say, was really the body, or was maybe the? Let's say because the body is only a shell, actually, right?
Well,
so maybe it's the
well,
shell.
I wanted to get you. So that's good that you say this. I want you to get a sort of new body experience, that you see your body as an intelligent something. You see, and we call that the embodied mind. So the body, as we know this thanks to neuroscience now, but Spinoza knew that already, and Plato knew that already, but your whole body has intelligence to everything which is around it.
Yeah.
So it reacts on this. So it sees this wall, it feels it's rejected by this one. It feels it. It cannot penetrate. If it sees this, the body will activate all the neurons for muscle doing this, even if I don't touch this glass. So if I look at this cap of you, my head will fill the muscles. If I see the fountain pen, etc., etc. So we're continuously embodying our environment. But if it's just glass, the body doesn't know what to do. Shall we jump or shall we just, what shall we do? So, but in the examples we listened till now, it was very body intelligence, because the bottom, if you put your body in the sea, the whole neurosystem will go on a lower level of excitation. It will completely feel relaxed without yoga and all that sort of stuff. just go in to see one.
Yeah.
If you see green, it will also lower blood pressure and so on.
Yes.
So there's continuously, between body and environment, intelligence interactions.
Yes. Okay. Because
See?
I was more thinking of connectivity.
And what would you think then? What
Well, connectivity, and
Yeah.
and then it doesn't depend.
exactly? Well, that's it.
As long as you
Yeah.
make connection with the.
But you can just you can realize that your whole body is in active communication with the environment. But when it is concrete, it's continuously ignoring its appeal for its quest for interaction. What did you saw?
I saw blue, green, clear water.
Wow, yeah. Everybody feels it, eh? Blue, green, yeah.
I found what I've often missed in my life is being able to see the horizon. If I
Yeah.
live in these kind of environments, I get that feeling of I
Yeah.
need to see what's at the end.
You know?
Overview.
Yeah, you know that in the Spanish language you have the word. He has left the north. He has lost the North Pole. Losing a north. Perdido el norte. Without the north, you don't have a compass. But it's
Yeah.
we have no
So I like about
orientation.
water and sea. You can see
Yeah.
the horizon.
No, we can visualize it.
I couldn't really settle on just one thing, but I guess the feeling of comfort, whatever form it takes.
Yeah. Okay.
I had greenery in the body of water, like within a pretty open space as well.
Green, water, and open. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was more like sky, so nothing above you, there's no barrier above your head.
Okay. You see, now we have made the plan for a good architect. Architects don't do this. They don't go in these fallacies and so on. But we have an old tradition, and the old tradition is that we build houses with our hands. What is the effect if you build a house with your hand? When you see this, for instance, this one. This is our house in Spain. These stones, they are found in the mountains, and they're put there by human hands. And what is the effect? An artist discovered this, that we human beings see the hands that put them there. So if you walk, this village has all these sort of houses where we live, and then you realize that what is the difference between having concrete and having this sort of houses, that is almost is like the nature again. So we can go back to traditional hand craftsmanship, you could say. The way they put the stones, this is an art, so you can learn that. But the artist said, and it was a Dutch artist, he was observing all sort of walls in our village, and he couldn't get rid of them because he saw all the people working at it. And this is the secret of architecture, that we can see the humans that built it, the hands. Because that's our body wants to connect with it. So that could be the future of architecture.
It's interesting, my background is as an architect, and when we studied at university we did a lot of looked at indigenous architecture. But when I went to work in practices, I realised that the biggest driving force in any of these things around us is not the architect, it's the person paying for it.
Exactly. Now as our story is closed with this remark, now we understand that tragedy, because it's not architecture, it's just building on a false narrative and then closing with a false economy. Because also the economy has a false narrative, because the economy says everybody has to follow his own interest and then everything will work out fine. Which is
Or
this.
be efficient.
Yeah.
It has to be efficient.
That's efficient, so. Exactly. This is done by one person who, well, if you look at it in an economy way, he did this in 2 years, built a whole house. It's a modern furniture maker from the Netherlands, a friend of mine, and he didn't need a hypothèque and that sort of loans. He just built this, and then very slowly, and never time for anything, only do this. But you can see that that's where is maybe the future of ourselves, And what we talked about, it can even be just living in the trees. Because think about it, why do you need a house if you have this free space, blue water, communal thinking, sometimes isolated? That's basically being instead of becoming.
And then why do we tie ourselves to concrete? Like,
what do you think? What is the answer?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so because we are addicted to the wrong narrative, so we believe efficiency. Efficiency is what is radiating out of this business, out of these buildings, and we believe it, and we believe that we want it because it's privacy. If you look at it, it's basically not a building. It's not. If you look at it, it's not. You cannot live in it. But if you believe that you get privacy in it, okay, I take that box because then I have my privacy. So the non-individuality proposal from you is a very strong attack on this concrete world.
Yeah.
Because the concrete world said, basically you're not a body, so it doesn't matter that it's concrete because you're just a machine. But you are a brain, and the brain wants to get rid of everybody. I want to have my closed walls. So my isolated individuality. So I think we have passed a lot of interesting analysis. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.